Welcome, dear friends, to 21 Days with Paul and Stephen. We are in this march in the journey of this inner discovery through the teachings of this phenomenal book, Paul and Stephen, by the Spirit author Emmanuel, through the mediumship of Chico Xavier. And this is a journey that was recommended to be shared with you by the good friends, the good spirit friends of ours, Mentor Joseph especially, since the outcome of the United States election, asking us to kindly gear ourselves towards a safe and secure pathway. Hi Leticia, good morning. Hi Luciana, hi Felipe. So friends, where are we? These are hard chapters. I know the first part of this book seemed to be so intense, but it is intense. But the question for us is, isn't this how it is in our daily lives? It's very intense. No wonder depression and anxiety, panic attacks, and all these mental challenges are coming to the surface of humanity because it is intense. So once we face it, we can work with it more easily. Hi, Angelita. So this is important. Psychology learned through its studies, and there is enough evidence that once we come to certain realization inside of us, we can more easily overcome the drama. Running away and pretending it's not there, denying it, just worsens it. So we need to face it. It's easier than pushing it away. You know, if you watch the movie Monsters Inc., I know it's a child's movie, but it can be for adults too. It's that feeling like, you know, you're afraid of opening the door when you're a child of your bedroom because you think there's a monster. But you know, in that movie, it demystifies it, showing to us that, you know, if you don't face it, you're missing on cute, fluffy monsters, and they are more afraid of you than you're afraid of them. And that's how it is. So, hi Adilson, hi Marilda, good morning, my friends. Good morning, Luciana. So, where are we now? So let's take courage, take heart, and march with Emmanuel. His camera now is on Stephen. Remember, we are on chapter 6, marching towards chapter 7. Chapter 6 is when Stephen was invited, kind of, you know, forced to be in the Sanhedrin, the court of the Jewish temple. And once he's there, they are really questioning him, like, what are you doing? So there is a moment after major conversations that they are having, actually arguments, Stephen is very calm. And this is page 291. 291. Stephen endured the storm calmly. That's a tip for us during these post-elections. Let us endure it calmly with realistic feelings inside of us, but at the same time, don't lose sight of calmness. And as soon as order was restored, he continued firmly. Hi, Romulo! Big hug from us. Karen and Mark are here too. We're all sending you hug to the baby Luca. And we're still far away from home, but we'll soon visit baby Luca, Vivian, Arthur, you, Vivian's parents. Big kiss to all of you. Why do you jeer me like this? He says calmly, not like me, okay? Calmly. So just rephrase it in your mind how he potentially said it. All hasty judgment displays weakness. Wow. In this post-election, hasty judgment means weakness. look at the president-elect and the vice president in prayers. It's hard, depending on what goes on, but hasty judgment displays weakness. First, I did refuse to argue, considering that one should avoid all causes of discord. But each and every day, Christ calls us to a new endeavor. He's telling us that Jesus Christ is calling you and I, all of us, to a new endeavor. And the Master certainly has called me today to speak to you about his powerful truths. Do you wish to impose ridicule and mockery on me? But that would comfort me, because Jesus experienced the same treatment in the highest degree. Pause. Recipe for bullying. I know bullying feels uncomfortable, and it's not right. We need to change it. But this is how we learn to feel before bullying. Do you wish to impose ridicule and mockery on me? But that would comfort me, because Jesus experienced the same treatment in the highest degree. It's telling us that if Jesus, who is our guide and model, went through the path of ridicule, mockery, bullying, in modern words, why would we expect any different? It's not that we're going to be passive and submissive to it, but we're not going to feel we're less just because people who are not well are judging us in a very cruel way, because that's bullying. It's cruelty, but that's their problem, not ours. But we need to protect our children from it. How? By teaching them. The other day, Virginia said, "Mom, the boy X at school, he pushed me." And I said, "What did you do?" "Nothing." "What did he do?" "Nothing." I said, forgive him. He probably doesn't know what he was doing. From an early age, we need to share these notions. Even if they're like they don't know what forgiveness means, but they feel the vibrations. So that's why we need to mean it. It's not like, forgive him. It doesn't work. It has to be like, well, we have to forgive him. He probably doesn't know what he was doing. It's more than the word forgiveness. It's more of the vibrations we're sending. Like, forgive the little boy. I'm not saying it is easy, especially for parents, when we love our children. But we know it's an invitation to love the other child too, because for now, this child is my child and that is somebody else's. But deep inside, we're all the same family. We are, and these are not mere words. We need to exercise that universal love. And everyone's child is our child too. That's why we need to care for one another and pray and be together. So, the dialogue goes on, and Stephen invites us to this deep unity with Jesus Christ. That's the first quiz of the morning for those who are experiencing morning in the planet. For those who are in the evening, good evening, and this is the quiz of the evening then. So, how much are we united with Jesus? Maybe we never ask ourselves this question. So scale from 0 to 10. 0 being like not united at all, and 10 being like completely in sync with Jesus, truly united. Hi Rita, Gicassia, beautiful name, beautiful name. And how are we doing there? Where are we regarding our unity with Jesus Christ? 0 being not in sync with him at all, and 10 being like 100% in sync. Where are we, my friends? We need to ask self-knowledge. Why is it important to be united, be on the same page, as we say in the United States, with Jesus Christ? Why? Because he's the governor of the planet. He is our shepherd. He is our guide and model. if we don't want to be lost in this trip to the earth, we really need to be looking at him eye to eye. And if he says, come, we go. Turn right, we turn right. Turn left, we turn left. And if we don't, we'll be recalculating 1,000,000 times. And that means a lot of waste of time and a lot of suffering. We don't have to. We just need to be in sync. So you know, when you have to connect your Bluetooth, you know the Bluetooth? That's how it is. The Bluetooth connection is a way for us to, as an analogy to how we get in sync with Jesus. We need to really have a strong connection. Hi Paloma, big kiss to you, to Isabella, and also to our dear friend Gabriel and Todd. Now, they are there, and there are harsh insults towards Stephen, harsh. But Stephen did not lose heart. So if we want to learn what it is to gain emotional shielding from potential emotional contagion, read this chapter. If you say, Vanessa, I can't read it. I remember friends of mine saying, and there were times I couldn't read it either. It was too intense. But it's a therapeutic journey, educational journey towards gaining emotional control, emotional shielding. Because you may be reading Saul's words and like, but you breathe in and out. Take the journey through Stephen's lenses and teach the brain the building of the pathway for emotional shielding. And let's learn with him. He was not desperate. He didn't lose heart. He turned calmly. And what did he do? He fixed his gaze with poise on those attending the hearing. How do we usually do when people are attacking us? Since the animal kingdom, we tend to put our body down and feel like we need to protect ourselves. Or the opposite, when we want to fight, we make ourselves bigger. It's like the cat. You know the cat? When he's feeling threatened, he makes himself bigger, like the fur. We call it piloerection. And the whole body language, the ears, even dogs do that, to make them look bigger than they are. And that's a beautiful emotional body language that is very instinctive in animals and also in us. How did our dear friend Stephen, who was already composed, very skillful, thank you for the love, friends, I feel it, and I send it back to you too. But he turned calmly and fixed his gaze with poise on those attending the hearing, realizing that the most vocal would be the Pharisees, the ones most fundamentally struck by the new truths, waiting for calm to be restored. See the silence, the pause. In psychoanalysis, we learn that silence has very powerful meanings, but different meanings in different scenarios. In the book Jesus in the Home, the spirit author Neil Lucio shows to us that Jesus was so skillful at using pauses and silence purposefully. And Stephen was also on that same page. He waited for people to be restored, and then he spoke again. Let's not forget he was not alone. Some people, when they're arguing, they start talking to each other non-stop. Yeah, I know. I've been there, done that, and still do it. But here he's showing to us, wait. Why? People are gonna feel better. So our friend Leticia, she's saying that what we're reading on her book, the paperback, is on page 137. Thank you, Leticia. So he says, let's listen to Stephen. Pharisees, my friends, why do you insist on not understanding? He's asking us the same question. Remember days ago when we were asked to evaluate where were we regarding our Pharisee trait? We have a Pharisee inside of us. Hypocrisy, if not you, just me, okay? But hypocrisy, we learn one thing, we say another, we do something else, not coherent. We don't put things into practice. So he's asking us, why do you insist in not understanding? Do you perchance fear the truth of my statements? Do we fear the truth? Yes. Many people, they even come to spiritist meetings and they say, you know, I remember somebody telling me, I quit going to the center in Brazil, good center this person was attending, because right now I cannot really comply with the teaching, so I prefer to go away. One day I'll be back and I'll be able to comply. It doesn't work that way. It's like going to school. You don't go to school when you know it all. You go to school to learn it and to shape it up. Exactly the same for the gym. You don't go to the gym when you're built, like you're completely like built up and you're in shape. You go to be in shape and to maintain it, right? The same for spiritist centers. We don't need to be ashamed. You know, self-acceptance is very important. So that's the affirmation of the morning. I love and approve of myself. Right, Karen, Mark? They like singing the affirmation too. I love and approve of myself in ways that are pleasing to me. I love and approve of myself in ways that are pleasing to me. Feels good, but it's very important. We are divine. If we don't accept our divine essence, we're not really loving God. It begins with self-love too. So, fear, no. Resistance, no. And Josiah Korngold was so inspired at the end of the meeting we had yesterday, the suicide prevention event in Long Island, that she mentioned many people who come to spiritist centers claiming that their lives got worse when they started learning those truths and helping, becoming practitioners. And she said that some spirits, those evolved spirits, shared the knowledge that we have centuries of dark decisions and unhealthy decisions in our lives. And now that we have 5 minutes of a healthy pathway, we think those 5 minutes are bringing darkness to us? That's not a good realization at all. It doesn't make any sense. Spiritist centers don't make us sick. Working for the good doesn't make us sick. But you know what it is? When you go to the doctor, you get to know what you have, and that's what it is. When we go to the center, we start seeing what we haven't seen. It has always been there, but we have never noticed. The spiritual influence, but now we can see it, we can feel it. It has always been there. Always, always, always. Proof? Look at the book Sex and Destiny. Claudio, incarnated, has a discarnate friend, Moreira. They drink together, they party together, they have lots of crazy things going on together. And one day Claudio learns about Spiritism and starts seeing life as is. From our angle, he has always been under the spiritual influence of Moreira. He has always been under very unhealthy spiritual influence, but now he realizes, because now he knows that's how it works, that's what exists. So for all of us, the question here is, do we also feel that becoming spiritists, are we afraid of the truth? That's why we pause or we slow down in our commitment to doing good? Doesn't make any sense. Stephen is telling us, that's the Pharisee inside of us telling, oh, my life is worse now. If your protests are based on this fear, please be silent so that I may continue, said Stephen. Remember that I'm referring to our errors of the past, and those who associate themselves in guilt give testimony of love in the chapter of reparation. Despite our miseries, God loves us, and realizing my own deficiency, I could not speak to you except as a brother. However, if you express anger and revulsion, remember that we cannot escape the reality of our profound insignificance. Have you perchance read Isaiah's lessons? It is important to consider his exhortation that we cannot live in haste, or deceive ourselves, or run from our duties, for the Lord will go before us, and the God of Israel will be our rear guard. Listen to me. God is our Father, Christ is our Lord. Feel it? God is our parent, I would say, and Christ is our Lord. Feeling it. Loving parent. If we, with our imperfections, says the Gospel according to Spiritism, can give our soul to our child, what do we think God is going to give to us? Friends, let us feel this relationship with God. After all, the commandment of life is love God above all things. But we need to exercise it every day. Every day. As Stephen is inviting us. Remember, this book is a journey through this beautiful pathway of Stephen too, and he is already surrendered to God. He is loving and kind in spite of the challenges he's facing. You, he says, speak much about the law of Moses and the prophets. However, can you conscientiously affirm that you have fully observed their glorious teachings? Are you not blind at present by denying yourselves the comprehension of the divine message? He whom you sarcastically call the carpenter of Nazareth was a friend of all unfortunates. Are you perchance unaware of the fact that the Word of God has both, this is important, hearers and doers? You must determine whether you have been mere hearers of the law in order not to falsify your testimony. Okay, here's another quiz for us. Are we hearers or are we doers? Are we just like Nicodemus, studying Spiritism, studying, reading books, going to the same, But when we need to roll our sleeves and work, serve, oh no, I can't, too busy, because of family, because of work, because I'm sick. It doesn't make sense. So what are these books for? To help others when we are happy and have nothing else to do? Please tell me when that's going to happen, because it's never going to happen. Never, ever going to happen. We are actually supposed to sing in the rain. Sing in the rain, meaning be joyful in spite of the rain. Let's sing in the rain, dance in the rain, and that's how it is. We can't wait for rain to go away so we then go and do what we have to do. There's no time. We're being called here. Are we hearers? Asks Stephen to all of us. Are we just hearers or are we doers? So when you go to a Spiritist event, and when I go, for example, or to a Spiritist center, It's more than the words that are being spoken. It's about connecting to each and every person who is there. Because each and every heart who is there, including ours, has difficulties, challenges, sorrows and pain and anguishes. So let us hug our friends. Let us give them love. Sometimes no need for extra words. Words are complement. It's more about vibrations. It's about feeling the unity with the community we're in. We need to get in and look at people around, even if we don't know them, and send them good wishes, and send them mental vibrations, mental messages saying, I feel you. I feel you. Life can be hard. I am on the same page because I am human too, and I go through tough times too. But that's why we're here. We're here to strengthen ourselves so we can calibrate our minds and hearts with Christ and go back to our daily lives and multiply the beautiful gifts we're given in these meetings, in these events. That's the purpose. Be mindful. Let's look at people in the eye. How do we practice mindfulness? It's not about words. It's about feeling. It's body language. People are there seated at a spiritist event, at a spiritist meeting, for example, or at work, school, like Julio Carvalho beautifully said at the meeting yesterday. It's about doing grocery shopping. Be mindful. Who is this cashier before me? Oh, her name is Abby. Before I pay, look at her. Her name tag, he said. Very wise. And says, thank you, Abby. How are you doing? If you don't want to ask, you just say, thank you, Abby. Have a good day, Abby. Doesn't it feel good? That's the most important part. Can we picture our guided model, Jesus, rushing into counseling people, barely looking in the eyes? He was fully present. When you look at Chico Xavier, look at the pictures, the way he behaved. He was fully present, mindful. I remember meeting the Dalai Lama in Washington, D.C. in 2006 in a neuroscience meeting. Thousands of neuroscientists gathering together, 14,000, to listen to him. And I remember coming like this close to him because I wanted to get very close. Of course, there were lots of bodyguards and monks around him, but as close as I got, like a chair away, he looked at me in the eye like we could have had a whole conversation right there. So mindful. He pays attention to a fly that is passing by. By the way, Chico Xavier was so mindful. He talked to the ants, to the animals. He was not like, oh, go away, shoo, shoo, shoo. He was like, oh, my little friends, Valdovir is gonna, push you away from home, so you better go home to your home voluntarily, Hi, Nina. Big hug to the kids, too. So we need to think about this. Are we hearers or are we doers? He goes on teaching us. And let us observe what was happening at the time in the temples of Judaism. Jerusalem does not seem to be the same sanctuary of the traditions of the faith that my parents taught me from childhood. At present, it gives me the impression of a large bazaar where sacred things are sold. The temple is full of merchants. The synagogues overflow with subjects related to mundane interests. The Pharisaic centers resemble a beehive of petty concerns. Your luxurious tonics dazzle the eyes. Your wasteful habits cause wonder. Do you not know that in the shadow of your walls there are unfortunate persons dying of hunger? I have come from the outskirts where most of our poverty is concentrated. Two major reflections for us here. And I'm not being reductionist to the amount of teachings here, but just so we focus for today. Are our spiritist centers becoming a little bit like a bazaar sometimes? So this message is saying, Remember Mentor Joseph telling us since the spiritist side of Baltimore, if you're gonna offer food in another separate room, not the conference room. Why? Because it disturbs the vibrations. Two different vibrations. One to sustain the spiritual, other to the material. Both blessed, but not in the right place. But Vanessa, we need to raise funds. I know, I asked the same question to Mentor Joseph. He said, raise funds some other way. Try to find another venue, but not in the same room. If you do it, we're going to have to come around the vibrations, but it's going to be hard for us. Very hard. We need to separate eating spiritually from eating physically in the spiritist center. I remember somebody telling me at the Spirit Side of Virginia, but Vanessa, people come here, they are hungry. I know, but this is not a restaurant. We don't go to spiritist centers to eat. We go to nourish our souls. So we need to change that habit, because that is impacting on the depth of our connection with the spiritual realm. We need to do a little fasting, and if we need to fundraise, we need to fundraise in other ways. Otherwise, as says here, we are making our temples a bazaar. We're selling mundane interests, petty concerns. How often do we go to spiritist centers, people are like, oh, I love your shoes, I love your clothes, I love... My God, I mean, you're beautiful, that's kind. But where did you buy these shoes? Where did you buy your purse? Where, in your car, and this? These are petty concerns. We don't go to spiritual centers, spiritist centers, or to churches, or to temples to focus on the material. We need to train ourselves to aim higher. Look at people in the eyes instead of looking at their clothes. We have dress code in our center, and that's important so we don't create disturbance. But at the same time, we don't focus on it. Sometimes we have to intervene, but at the same time, we need to aim higher. Look at people in the eyes. Hi, soul. Soul to soul, right? Like Professor Euripides Barçanufo. Let's look at ourselves, immortal spirit to immortal spirit. Hi, Leonor. Thank you for your beautiful words, your friendship. Thank you. But this is a lesson for us, and he says, I repeat, you speak of Moses and prophets. Do you believe that our venerable ancestors marketed God possessions? Even selling books. Of course, if we don't have another room, but we don't condition the selling to the meetings. We're not becoming Puritans here, but just we're trying to separate it out to be, people who come firsthand, they don't get confused. Do I have to buy a book now because I don't have to pay for admission? Some people ask me that. Do I have to buy a book because I don't pay for admission so I can help you guys? But I would like to donate. And I said, okay, you can donate whatever you like, but we're not asking for it. We don't. The book Spiritist Conduct by André Luiz tells it all. He goes on and on and on, and Emmanuel describes that the crowd was paralyzed, incapable of knowing what to do because he was so assertive. But soon after they snapped out of this mysterious power that had silenced them, the Pharisees broke into a deafening uproar, waving in the air and proffering invectives for the purpose of attenuating the strong impression caused by Stephen. Let's stone the filthy dog. Let's lay the slander. Oh, that's hard to say. Saul stood up, red with rage. Thank you, Emmanuel, for showing a face of ours, because that's how we look, not beautiful. And the father of homeopathy in the Gospel according to Spiritism, when he has a dissertation on anger, he talks about this. Anger is about us, not the body. And we don't look pretty if we look at ourselves in the mirror. We look mad, like Saul. He could not conceal the fury of the impulsive temperament overflowing from his turbulent and blazing eyes. Are we also like this, impulsive? Lots of problems with suicide comes with impulsiveness. That's why it's very important to train ourselves and our children to be less impulsive. I'm gonna fix it now. I'm gonna do it now. Wait. Let's wait. Impulsiveness. And we can destroy our lives and others. Stephen looked at the Moor, derisive and enraged, exclaiming in a loud yet tranquil voice. Can we picture it? Loud, tranquil. No. Loud and tranquil. That's an exercise for the brain. Picture, loud and tranquil. Some parents, some people think that when they have to be loud, they need to be furious. And if they are tranquil, they need to speak like, oh, my dear. No. You can be loud like a good teacher. Come on, friends. Come on, students. Let's work. But tranquil. But loud. It needs to be loud. Tranquil. Loud and tranquil. Beautiful combination. Remember the feminine and the masculine we talked about? Loud, masculine. Tranquil, the feminine. Balance. For the times, for the purpose. Hi, Marilda. I love you too. You're from Brazil. That's beautiful energy coming from Brazil. Thank you. Thank you. We are all feeling it. Thank you, Angelita. I know these teachings are amazing. And he said, your attitude does not intimidate me. Christ was mindful when he recommended that we do not fear those who can kill only our body. So then Saul shouted furiously in Stephen's ear, enough, enough, not one more word. And you know, from now on, they imprison him, he's taken to jail, and he's going to be judged. Saul and other Pharisees wanted to stone him right there, to death. Gamaliel, Saul's mentor, pondering and always very cautious, said, let's wait. So chapter 7 begins by knowing that Stephen was taken to prison in heavy chains. But deep inside, he is courageous. Chapter 7 is all about the first persecutions, which begin with this explanation in chapter 6. Struck by Stephen's courage for having confronted his authority and fame, Saul's impulsive character caused him to be seized with the idea of revenge. You see, no matter if he imprisoned Stephen, he's still feeling like I need to avenge him. It's amazing. He doesn't stop, like his ego is huge. This is page 311, chapter 7, in the ebook. Stephen's argumentations pain the most sensitive fibers of Saul's soul. Deep down, his resentment was the appanage of a sincere and ardent youth. Okay. Neuroscience can explain that somewhat, not a little. All right. Thank you for waiting, friends. Back to the connection, hopefully. Thank you, Shane. I think you got back, right? The connection. But we're right here talking about why Saul, a lot of his resentment came from his youthness. Neuroscience explains a little bit. Thank you for letting us know, Leticia. We're back. It's the connection. So, it's important to notice that when we are young, hi Juliano, so the prefrontal areas in our cortex, they are not fully matured. Did you know that now neuroscience redefines adolescence it ends when we are 25, kind of. Because that's when the true maturation of the prefrontal cortex comes through. This is the current neuroscientific studies, not necessarily it's the final one. We await further investigation, but we understand that when we are not maturing at that level, we cannot discern quite well, and that's when we are more impulsive than discerning. However, his wounded vanity, his racial pride, and his domineering manner blinded his spiritual sight. Here we have the important exercise for us. How much of our vanity, racial pride, and egotistic, domineering manners can blind ourselves spiritually and distancing us from one another and God. When I was watching our dear Addison Cornwell at the suicide prevention, Marcelo Medeiros, he was showing a video, a footage from South Africa, right? Talking about the apartheid. And when you look at people who have black skin in this life, saying that they were discriminated because of it, it's mind-blowing. Like, why? It doesn't make any sense that we distance ourselves from one another for different features. It's kind of difficult to explain. If people tell me, put together your thesis, because what is the argument behind it? Why? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense when we see women being treated differently because they are women. Why? If we are humans. Why do we treat children sometimes with less respect? Why? Of people of different nationalities. I'm Brazilian. If you're Brazilian, then we get along easily. But if you are from another culture, despite the language barrier, then I feel more distance from you. Why? Why? If we spiritists know that deep inside it's all a temporary clothing, which is blessed, but doesn't make us any different. So here we ask ourselves, are we just like Saul, putting these temporary features ahead of us, blinding us from this deep spiritual connection with people? Humanity is getting sick because we're blind to our reality. You may be reading in the news after the election, many people are going through lots of problems, but my friends, it has always been there. I remember, and I'll share this live right here, I'm not going to say names. I remember in 1998, at the University of Maryland. Somebody telling me, because Baltimore is mostly African American. This person was American, Caucasian American, and told me, Vanessa, do not mix yourselves with the African Americans because they are of lower intellectual. They are lazy and they are fat. Coming from Brazil, never heard of it. And I was like, I don't understand that. I'm sorry. I made lots of friends and I love them all. The African Americans, the Caucasian Americans, everybody. But this is not about me. It's about this blindness. Really? You think somebody, because they are born with a body of a different color, a different race, etc., they are less than us? Prove it to us, please. Because if it's proved, I'll believe it. But there's no way to prove it because it doesn't exist. It doesn't make any sense. And that's critical. As blind as Saul. And this person was Christian, by the way. Christian. Hearer or doer? I know it's very deep what we're sharing. Sad, but it's true. 1998. So what you're seeing surfacing now has always been there. But people didn't have the courage to say. Now, potentially there is a leader saying, now you can speak your mind. Go ahead, tweet whatever you like. Facebook whatever you like. Say whatever you like. Bully whomever you like. And people are like, yeah. What do? We don't drive out darkness with darkness, said Martin Luther King Jr. We need light, love, compassion, kindness. At the core of Saul's thought, he now hated that crucified Christ, but he detested Stephen, whom he now regarded as dangerous enemy. Immaturity of the soul. Because later they become friends after killing Stephen. But why do we have to hate somebody just because they think differently? We're not just. We need to be more just. Encouraged in his purpose by almost unanimous approval, Saul began coordinating the first steps for uncovering the activities of the way in its least expressions. He was obsessed by the idea of public revenge and imagined sinister scenarios in his overexcited mind. He would arrest all involved as quickly as possible. In his opinion, the gospel was a disguise for imminent sedition. He would present the concepts of Stephen's oratory as the sign of a revolutionary banner in order to awaken the opposition of his last watchful friends, who were used to making a pact with evil under the pretext of accommodating tolerance. And that's people who say they love God, who know that the Mosaic law said, do not kill, you shall not kill. And here they are creating plots to kill people in the name of God, hearers, not doers. Are we like this? We may not kill people physically, but may kill their image to others. Slander, calumny. And we're like, that person amounts to nothing, you see, blah, blah, blah. And we put them down. And the problem here Saul is showing to us is his single idea, his obsession. He is entering this overexcitation of the mind by constantly thinking of the same, like rewinding the tape and willing to persecute and willing to make justice. How often we have a problem with somebody, which sometimes is a test in life, an expiation, and instead of letting it go, we keep like thinking of it every day. I know somebody who confessed to a friend saying, you know, I spent a year waking up every day jealous and envious of you. That's torture. Saul is torturing himself. He is envying Stephen the qualities he already has inside of him. Why? Ego, ego, ego. As the Spirit's book says, selfishness and pride can create obstacles for the growing and the blossoming of the most beautiful virtues. So we need to wash away those selfish features. We need to change it. How? By practicing selflessness. And you know, parenthood is a good way to become more selfless. You're hungry, they're hungry. Who eats first? The child. The child eats first. You're tired, they're tired. They sleep first. When you are a teacher, an educator, it's also a good pathway for selflessness. Because you're always thinking of the students, sleepless hours. When you go through the healthcare field, doctors who are real doctors, they really go above and beyond the call of their duty for their patients, and they become truly selfless, like Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, Dr. Dias da Cruz in Brazil, and many others. By being truly religious like Mother Teresa, she learned how to tame the flames of any selfishness and pride by thinking more of others. So he's in prison. Saul of Tarsus heard the news, and he was there visiting. He wanted to imprison the men of the way, and he was threatened, by that attitude of calmness. And when we flip the pages, we come to know that more and more he's coming closer and closer to the truth. The more he fights against it, the more it comes to him. The more we resist to the call of life, the more life is inside of us. It's like the knife again. The knife. Oh, the more I resist, the more it's inside of my hand. You see, let's pretend this is a knife. This is my hand and a knife. If I resist, it's deeper inside of me. He was resisting, and the more he resisted, the more he encountered it. I'm not saying this is the pathway, but if we don't want something, we just let it go. Let it go. Vanessa, I don't want to think of this person. I have an issue. So change our thoughts for other thoughts, substituting them. Somebody's bothering us, pray for them, but don't be obsessed by changing the scenario. Leave it alone. Go help people who are suffering. And you see, your ideas are going to change. Your feelings are going to be transformed, will be transformed. So he got to know that his mentor Gamaliel is now chatting. Hi, Hercules. He's chatting and he's becoming kind of friends with Peter, trying to be conciliatory. He's more furious. People are trying to say, well, maybe they're gonna, have some agreement. And he's like, no, can't be possible. He can't be there. This is our immaturity. It's like a toddler. No, Mom, don't do it. No, Dad. And you're trying to help them. And they're like, no, that's Saul and Gamaliel. Gamaliel is helping and Saul is like a toddler. Like tantrum of ego. Ego tantrums. We have ego tantrums. Stephen's imprisonment had broad repercussions in the humble Church of the Way, raising justified fears for the apostles. Peter, John, and everybody, they were calm, knowing that everything was going to turn all right, but they knew they were apprehensive, especially James. And then disagreements began in the Church of the Way. But a disagreement was taking shape because James had strong arguments, and Peter and John kindly placed the interest of Jesus' message above everything else. Question to us: are we putting Jesus' interest and message above everything else? We are gonna stop here in this part of chapter 7. We'll finish tomorrow, entering chapter 8. Peter and John placed the interests of Jesus' message above everything else. What is it when we put the interests of Jesus' message above everything else? Does it mean we're going to live in a spiritist center and sleep over there? No. Does it mean we're only going to talk about spiritism? No. It's not about religious, organized religions. It's about when we go to work, for example, and people are suffering, like say the students, the colleagues, people who work in finance, whatever work they do, and we're there to serve them. We're putting the interest of Jesus' message right there above our own personal and professional needs. There is no hard work for those who want to serve. There's no difficult work environment when we open the doors of our hearts to applying Jesus' message wherever we are. There is no difficult environment at home when we let go of what we want to allow the harmony of the home to take place. Sometimes we have to be firm, loud, but calm, tranquil, but loud, firm. We need to harmonize ourselves and put the interest of Jesus' message above everything else. It's not about what we need, the ego, the passing ego of this life, but it's about the Christ consciousness. Friends, are you tired of many reincarnations? Many reincarnations. Making choices that make us suffer now? I am. And I think you are too. Spiritism comes to console us and to say at these critical times, when you open the newspapers, when you open your Facebook, the feed, the news feed, open your heart. Allow the light of the Christ to shine above it all and help your friends calm down. Help bring them courage, hope, and joy. Jesus is ahead of us. He is the captain of our ship on the earth. We are into it. Let us row with him. Together in harmony. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is a wonderful dream of God. Dream of God, which is love. So let us feel it, my friends. Let's row with the captain, Jesus, and never lose hope, courage, or joy. We're going to stop here, wishing you a wonderful day, hoping that tomorrow God bless us with the opportunity of being together. Many blessings, friends.